Hi, this is Ryan with Galaxy of Toys and Collecting Cosmos, and today I'm going to give you a little review of the Hasbro UWing and the TIE Striker. So here we have the UWing fighter itself out of the box. I didn't bother showing you pictures of the box. I'm sure most of you have seen that in the stores. We'll start with our exclusive figure that comes with this, with Captain Cassian Andor. This is probably the weakest part of the whole vehicle. The detail in his beard and paint job just doesn't seem about right. It looks like he got a little paint on his ear there, too. He does have a holster for his gun, which is nice. Beyond that, he almost seems replaceable by a Han Solo or Dash Rendar figure of old. So we won't focus on him. We're going to focus on the vehicle itself. Now, it does have an opening cockpit here. And we could put Mr. Andor in here. And in fact, one of the things it has in here is kind of nice, is it has this little, I don't know what you want to call it, elastic band that you can pull up so that you can keep your figure in there if you want. It kind of gets a seat belt, if you will. That's one feature. The other feature, of course, is that we can open up the wings by pressing down on that, and so that we get kind of the swept wing view, if you will, of the vehicle. Kind of interesting. The underneath actually has 4 separate landing gear, which was kind of nice on there. I didn't expect it to have that much. I expected it to kind of rest on its engines, if you will. And of course, you see those big red Nerf darts. It has places to store them. You don't have to store them there. And it has a big old cannon right here in the middle, much like the Millennium Falcon from last year. In order to deploy the cannon, what you do is you press right back here for a hidden weapon type thing. And you could hear it there, and our cannon is out. And I know most people could care less about this giant cannon, as all the complaints we heard from the Millennium Falcon stuff. But we can load it up here with a dart, lock and load. And once it's pressed down, we press the button that unloaded the cannon to begin with. And we get, actually, pretty good dart. Now, if you don't like the cannon on here, of course, you can just press it back in, and it will stay in there. You don't have to worry about it. It's kind of hidden out of the way. Doesn't stick down. I know some people might have preferred to have kind of a cargo bay in here or something like that. I think this is a nice blend between what kids would want and what adult collectors are going to want. So the other thing I wanted to go over is the relative size. So here we have how big the UWing is. Here's a vintage X-Wing up next to the UWing. Kind of gives you a rough estimate on the size there. If we go a little bit bigger, we can add in a similarly colored Walmart Force Awakens X-Wing. It's a little bit taller than the vintage one. As you can see, it's still pretty close. And consider these are about the same value here, where the X-Wing sold for $50 and the U-Wing is going for $50. You see the U-Wing is still bigger. And finally, we can compare it to the almost 20-year-old FX X-Wing. Height-wise, it still goes higher. Obviously, the wings go out a lot more, and the FX X-Wing has the electronics in it. Interestingly, I think, is the FX X-Wing was $50 when it came out as well. So the other vehicle that came out is the TIE Striker, which names always makes me think of the old G.I. Joe Sky Striker. And to start off with, we do have the TIE Pilot that comes with this. And unlike the Cassian Andor that came with the U-Wing, I think they did an excellent job on this figure. It's got a very good sculpt. I love the paint job on it. Something that Hasbro does with TIE Fighter pilots. The Rebels TIE Fighter pilot was also awesome. I mean, there's not a whole lot of paint here, obviously. It's mostly just a black figure. But we got all those little decals, all the little paint spots on his chest. It just is a really nice sculpt. It's a really good figure. On to the ship itself. So here's our TIE Striker. I like the shape of this vehicle. It reminds me of a bat, and there's some other ship it reminds me of that I've seen somewhere. Maybe I'm thinking like the Mandalorian fighters or something like that from Clone Wars. But it has a rather large opening cockpit here. Plenty of room for us to put our figure in there. It definitely fits right on in. Plop him on in there. And it's kind of a big little pod here, if you will. That's what I want to call it. Underneath, you see that we have the darts. They have their own little slots in here. You can unscrew these. There's just a little screw slot right there if you'd like. The gun itself is not detachable. It doesn't press in or anything, so that might detract for some people. You can remove, or actually this whole bottom piece comes not attached to it, but without it on it, you're missing all the kind of underside detail there as well. It's not too bad. It actually kind of helps it stand too. It gives us a nice little area. As you can see there, it's not as visible, a little bit visible. Now it does have a couple of features here. You can raise up the wings so that they're a little more kind of on the level, so you can see right there. Just be straight out. That's kind of more like the Mandalorian fighter as I think of it. And you press this level back down here, and they pop right back down. And of course you can fire a dart from it. We press this little lever right here, and the dart goes. To get a little size comparison here, we'll compare it to a vintage TIE fighter. Please excuse the dust and the wires, as I did just take this down from my ceiling. That gives you kind of an idea about the scale of the vehicle. As you see, the ball cockpit is much shorter than this little pod that we have here, but it is about the same width and diameter. We can also compare it to the size of a vintage TIE Interceptor. Of course, the ball will be about the same size, but see how long the wings are there. Wings are roughly the same length, just about. Maybe the TIE Strikers are a little bit longer, but they're very similar to like one edge, if you will, of the TIE Interceptor wings. This gives you the size comparison between Darth Vader's modern Hasbro TIE Fighter and the TIE Striker, and the design of the TIE Bomber as compared to the TIE Striker. The pods are somewhat similar on these, but not quite. There's quite a few differences in there. I thought it might just be a TIE Bomber pod with TIE Interceptor half wings or something, but it's definitely a little bit different from that. Finally, we'll give a comparison to the modern big wing TIE Fighter. You see those wings are much bigger, but of course the pod in the middle, or the ball cockpit, is very similar in diameter. So that concludes my look at these two new Rogue One vehicles. I think they're much better made than the previous Force Awakens vehicles. We saw a little flimsy plastic on those. These came out of the box really nice. They seem very solidly constructed. I really like them. They're new vehicles. They're fun. I recommend both of them. If you see them on sale especially, I'd recommend you go buy them. I hope you enjoyed this look at the new Rogue One vehicles. If you have any questions or comments, or would have anything that you would like to see me review, please post in the comments below. Thanks.